Rebel definitely has that platform, to be able to inform people outside of our culture what it's like to experience it. So I think it's really important for us to be, involved, with these events so we can showcase and express the true nature of our culture.
Very quickly, before we get into it all, just want to say a big thank you to Freestyle Session, who are bringing us today's show. We've got a special discount for all of our viewers here at Stance Elements. Go to freestylesession.com and use the code Stance Elements at checkout for 20% off your total order. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Stance Elements. I'm Chaz B. I am your host. I've got Naty Lite here, the organizer of Temple Rock as part of the Pro Breaking Tour. It's so amazing to have you here. Thank you for your time.
Hey guys, peace. Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time as well. And it's an honor to be a part of this. So thank you.
I'm going to kick this off with something that seems obvious. When you talk to event organizers about their journey into organizing for their community, there's always a motivation. There's always a need that they're filling, or there's always something they're inspired by that makes them want to organize. So what was it for you? What was the motivation for you to want to start in events organizing?
So for me personally, being a B girl, and actually when I started organizing events, it was to create a platform for B girls. At the time, I felt like there was a lack of it. So when we did Temple Rock 1, I was like, okay, we need to have something for the ladies. Me, as not being as comfortable entering battles, I was like, at my level, I wanted to have something that was comfortable for me to enter. So I figured maybe there were other ladies that felt the same way. So hence, the first one-on-one B-girl event was added to Temple Rock.
What year was that?
This was back in 2014. So I've incorporated, the B-girl categories into Temple Rock every year, and really into any event that we've done, like Legendary Jam, or like, the Freestyle Session Florida qualifiers, and even most recently this year's Florida Breaking Open. So always looking out for the ladies.
So it sounds like there's been an underrepresentation, and you wanted to make sure that there was more of an equal playing field there.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I really strongly believed in that. And, like I said, me being as a B girl, I wanted those platforms. So I figured, there was a need. I'm sure there were other, B girls that felt the same way. And, they did. I mean, and it reflects in, the representation in the event. So.
And then leading on from that, how does that work on a practical level? I'm sure everybody would agree that there should be more equal representation and more equal opportunity. But from your side of it, what does that look like on a practical level?
What do you mean by practical level? Like as in
the way that a lot of people talk about wanting these things, but then to actually do it and to get the wheels of motion going to make sure that there's a representation and that the events are set up for them.
Okay, so trying to incorporate more of these events outside of mine.
Or within yours as well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, the numbers reflect what can be provided, in our community. So the more girls that we have, that are representing these events, the more these platforms will be created. I definitely feel like we're not strong in numbers quite yet, so I'm hoping that, I know, because even for me, there's always being shy, maybe not confident enough to enter these events. And I was in that situation. So I'm sure there's other, B girls that feel the same way. So I want them to be able to step out of their comfort zone and then come out, represent, so we can have the numbers, in our favor. And the more we have those numbers, the more you'll see it in other events. You'll have other promoters supporting and, platforms growing.
So then what can others then do to help encourage that as well? Because I'm sure that it's one thing for an organizer to lay the foundations for it, but then there has to be other aspects to it as well in terms of like everyone else's involvement and encouragement.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there were more, opportunities as far as having more, practice spots. I know there's a lack of practice spots if you're not in a major city. I think maybe having events that focus more on, for example, like a camp, and, you know, building more outside, instead of battling and it being strictly competition, building more relationships, within the B-girl community. So I think, having other platforms aside from these, competitions will make us feel more welcomed, and not necessarily welcome, but more confident to be able, to enter these events as well.
And it's not only a one-time thing, is it? It's not as if
No,
you just have your one event and it shows as though you're working hard for the
no.
betterment of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I went through that, I didn't really start breaking and competitively until 2014. And, you know, to me, I spent a whole year battling everywhere. I traveled to every state, out of the country, just battling, ciphering, building with other B girls, other B boys, and, just putting my reputation out there. It's definitely something that you have to, be consistent with. And yeah, I'm telling you, it was like almost every weekend I was somewhere. So you have to put the work in for sure. It's not a one time thing.
And that helps with your network, right? A lot of the time we hear people say it's who you know that matters. And especially from the events side of things, who you know helps to build the trust so that when you want to invite people to be involved in your event or encourage people to take part in whatever the format is. I know you do a 2-on-2, and I think it was a B Girls 7 to Smoke when I was there in 2000. No, it was a 1-on-1, and then the 7 to Smoke in 2017 when I was there. But you also done a bunch of 2v2s as well. So you want people to be able to know that you have a good reputation, and when they go to the events, they're going to have an amazing time.
Definitely. Definitely.
I see. So then what's the key to longevity? How do you make sure that every year you're able to innovate, and you're able to keep the space, and you're able to just make sure that every year you're able to deliver?
I think it's just really listening to the community, seeing what their needs and wants are, usually, like, for example, if I'm seeing a lot of, 2-on-2s this year, switch it up, provide something different for the community, and it's not just about competition either. Like, there's years where we've, had Fusic playing, and, focused, having a great time in the ciphers, and we try to incorporate all the elements. We had, a graph, like Battle Expo, which was, really fresh one year. And, we had one of our local MCs, Matt Ills, who did a 7 to Smoke. And that was really, really, really cool experience, So it's really just bringing all elements of our community together and creating a great experience for each and every one of them. I'm sure when, our graph artists and, the MCs come out and they see all the break, all the B-boys and the B-girls, they're like, oh my gosh, that's tight, so it's more than just the competition. And I think when you create that atmosphere, you have longevity in the scene.
I see. And that also crosses over into other elements as well. I know you've done a lot of work with Red Bull as well.
Mhm.
How important is it as a dancer to have involvement within these larger events when you're dealing with people that come from originally outside of our culture?
Um, I Rebel definitely has that platform, to be able to inform people outside of our culture what it's like to experience it. So I think it's really important for us to be involved, with these events so we can showcase and express the true nature of our culture, in the most genuine, rooted fashion. So the more we're involved, the more we can voice what our culture is about instead of having a misconception about it.
And then what's the key to working with them? Like, because some people that I have conversations with,
Mhm.
sometimes they don't have the open mindedness to think, okay, there's a bit of a collaboration that needs to happen where all sides need it to be considered. So, what do you think would be the key in in this case?
Do you mean working with them as far as, being involved in like the ciphers as a competitor or
I think just making sure that all of our needs are met
yeah.
in a particular way.
Sure. So, well, in regards to competitors, for example, this year Rebel did the city ciphers and there were more opportunities for the community to be able to be involved, you know, in the larger scale of the events, which, feeds into from the city ciphers into the regional ciphers to the USA cipher and then, to the world finals in New York. So having multiple opportunities, I feel like is a way, you can be involved. So Rebel's providing that, which is great. So you should take advantage. It's for us, we had one in North Carolina that fed into the Orlando cipher, which now feeds into the LA cipher. So that's definitely a way to get involved. And then as far as, events, someone has to kind of take a seat back and realize like, okay, I have to be more of the production and provide the platform. So for me, what you would say is like took a step back from competing and created these platforms so I can work with or collaborate with Red Bull to provide these qualifiers.
That must have been a bit of a hard moment when you think about you having to take a step back. I know that once you find a rhythm with these events and then you switch sides almost, it's like you have the knowledge, the insight, and the know-how, but sometimes you're thinking, I really wish I was on that stage. I really wish I was in the cipher.
Yeah, I can tell you this year I felt that way.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's a sacrifice for the greater good, for the community, most importantly. So it's okay.
I see. Well, I really hope this convinces our audience that some of the people that are most important to our community are involved in these larger events as well, and they're actually helping to make sure that all of our needs are met, that everything should be working the way that it is, and just really trying to make sure that it's the optimal experience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's, a lot of people all over the US and worldwide, that work together to make sure that, everything's in favor of the community. So we're always looking out and, just know that it's for the community at the end of the day, not for us, but for them. So
Exactly. Well, the last thing that I want to ask you, or actually say, I'm going to hand it over to you. I know that you have an event coming up, and well, from the time that we're recording, it's in about 3 weeks' time. So, how about you let everybody know all the necessary info
Oh my gosh, that's
about
funny because
Temple
I
Rock?
literally just dropped the flyer. Like right before this interview started, I just dropped the back of the flyer.
First off, where can they find the flyer?
You can find it on the Shaolin Productions Instagram handle. I know that's a mouthful, and I know Shaolin gets misspelled, so I'm gonna spell it out. It's HAOLIN Productions, Productions. So you can find the flyer there. And then if you just, search Temple Rock Volume 8 on Facebook, you'll be able to find all the event information there. But yeah, I mean, it's our 2-on-2, Big Girl 7 to Smoke, one-on-one footwork, Bonnie and Clyde. It's a 2-day event, and then we're partnering with Manny Frost from Underground Flow, and he's doing Beyond the Roots pre-party on Friday, which is going to be one-on-one top rock and 2-on-2 all styles or open styles. So it's going to be a jam-packed weekend. We got Felix and Java J on the 1s and 2s, and then we have B-Girl Kate and Jigs and Keebs judging, and our local MC, B-boy, entrepreneur, Lito, who's going to be on the mic. So it's going to be fun.
Make sure you're there, guys. Well, look, this has been amazing. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
I
you.
really hope to make it out to one of your events sometime soon, but also I really hope to see you soon as well.
Definitely. Well, I'm sure we'll reconnect soon in person. But thank you for having me. It really was an honor. So thank you.